Well, Gaurav Sharma is an independent energy analyst joining us now. Hello, Gaurav. Thank you very much for joining us. So this cracked pipe, it seems like ultimately a small issue, it's being corrected. But what would you say is the biggest lesson that we need to learn from this event, which saw prices jump quite alarmingly for a period?
Good to be back on the program. You see, as you mentioned, you lead in, the continent is reliant on a very small pool of individual producers. And when something goes wrong, there's very little margin for error. I think what Europe needs to learn is it needs to continue down the track of improving its storage. Now, one thing I would say here is that this reliance on individual producers definitely hurts, but the pain is sort of short-term pain because the recovery is around the corner. In the wake of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, what happened is that Europe learned its lesson about dependency on Russia, improved its storage, so the storage levels will incrementally go up in the summer months, and that might help Europe. However, what that can't do is create help the continent avoid temporary price fluctuations like we've seen in the past few days.
Do you think the answer, you mentioned storage, which is important, and we know that the EU is working on that, but do you think the message is also to have more diversity? Because we know that Norway supplies at least a third of Europe's gas.
Indeed, that is true, but the fallback mechanism in wake of the Russia-Ukraine war has been to sort of rely on the United States. Now, what that happens is that it creates a bit of a global conundrum. The Europeans turn to incremental volumes from the United States. That then creates a bit of a paucity of supply in the market, and you'll see Asian prices out in Asia, going up as well. So this domino effect sort of kicks in. Now, diversity of supply is well and good, but if you sort of keep Russia out of the loop, of the importation loop, then there's only a finite number of suppliers that you can turn to, the continent can turn to, and right now that happens to be the US, a country that the Asians are also incrementally relying on. So that creates this infraction in the market.
I want to ask you, especially in the light of the UN's Antonio Guterres saying we basically need an exit ramp because we're on the highway to climate hell. We're seeing in India, with massive heat waves, LNG gas, which of course is liquefied natural gas, transported via ship as opposed to natural gas via the pipeline. But that puts pressure on demand because people need to cool their homes in extreme heat. Do you foresee a time when climate change is going to have a massive impact on the price of gas?
Oh, definitely so. But you see, the thing is, we can always say that we can turn to renewables. And a number of G7 nations, the wider OECD, and a number of major Asian economies are working towards a pathway of having incremental renewables in their power grids. Now, the question is, there are, and this might some viewers might find it strange, but there are points in time in the power generation cycle where there is no wind, there is no sun. And what is the fallback mechanism? So unless we improve battery storage and not turn to natural gas, that becomes a very difficult problem to solve, and it is going to take better parts of a decade to sort of work out whether natural gas can be a fallback fuel or not. Right now, it's looking like there is no alternative, but yes, it's a pressing concern. People might want to diversify, but at the same time, they're faced with this problem where storage has to be improved first before we can talk about a natural gas switch-off.
All right, thank you so much. Gaurav Sharma is an independent energy analyst.